All right, welcome to our little flower studio, and we are just starting out on a massive project that involves the Floret originals and all of our breeding work. And I wanted to give you a peek into this so you can see what's coming in the future and just get inspired by all the beauty. I'm like, if I choke on my words or I sound out of breath, it's because I'm hyperventilating because I am so excited. Like, this is beyond. I've never seen all of the Floret originals and all of the breeding work in one place. I just never have done this before. So, okay, I just want to give you, let's just do a quick little zoom around. So there's a whole bunch there. We've got Celosia there. We've got zinnias along all these counters. And then we've got them down all these counters. I mean, look at this, they just keep going. So in total, we have 196 individual zinnia varieties that are like getting stabilized. And we've got more here and we've got more here. And then we've got another 50 varieties that are like not sure if they're going to be good yet. And then we've also been doing a bunch of hand crossing. So about 200 individual varieties of zinnias are growing on the farm right now. And getting to see them all in one place is just absolutely insane. So what I'm wanting to do, because I'm super visual and I need to see everything and I need to see colors next to each other and forms next to each other and sort things and just like be able to look at them and handle them, what I wanted to do was like, could I pick some of everything and see which ones are very similar, and you know, do I have duplicates? Because I always feel like, man, I have a lot of kind of shaggy peach ones, like which one's the best? And so now we get to really compare them. So we do a lot of record keeping around the breeding, and we have like this crazy spreadsheet. We have all these notebooks, we take tons of notes, tons of photos, but we don't have all of it in one place that's easy to access. We have these big spreadsheets and you're cross-referencing, and it's so big now with so many photos that it just kicks you out if you're on your phone. It's very frustrating. So what my goal is, or my dream is to have a breeding devoted library, just like we have on the Floret website for all of the different varieties that we've trialed. I want to do that for breeding so that I can just search by coral, or I can search by yellow or tufted or the family name, and I can just see what we have to work with. So just to give you a perspective, so the way that we organize the different varieties is by family. So this entire counter from here all the way down, these all originated from Dawn Creek. So Corey from Dawn Creek sent me some seeds. She sent me a blush and a peach and then a few other fun ones she was working on, and just said, I'd love for you to try it. I'm like, is it okay if I find anything? Am I okay to select it and work on it? She said, absolutely. So I started working on it, and that was about 4 or 5 years ago. And this is how many individual varieties I've been able to tease out of those mixes and isolate and work on. So I've got a lot of them now, and now I'm going to start refining, but I just wanted to give you a sense of like, if you get a mix, if you're growing Dawn Creek Blush or you're growing Dawn Creek Peach, there are so many treasures hiding in those packets of seed if you're just patient and you look for them. And like these are all the different things that I found. So we've got pinks, we've got corals, we've got, I don't even know what color this is. I keep calling it opalescent. We've got blushes, we've got weird kind of purples. It's kind of like a silver with a bit of brown. I mean, there's so many beauties. Okay, and then over here, these are the Alpen Glow and precious metals. So if you're growing precious metals, you know it's a mix, and it has kind of a linen color, a peach, a really beautiful kind of icy lavender. It kind of has a golden hour color and a rose. And so what I'm trying to do is tease out the individual colors from precious metals so that we could just have a palomino, we could just have a beautiful icy lavender, we could just have that soft rose, the peach, and so on. And so that's what I'm working on here. And then Alpen Glow is much more, there's not a lot of variation in it, but if you split Alpen Glow, which I've started to do, so it's a mix, just a slight mix. But if you split it, you'll find that there is this really beautiful kind of more peachy color and this really weird, beautiful linen-y color. So I have the mix, and then I want to split those two individual colors. Okay, so over here, I'm so excited. This is awesome. Okay, these are all unicorns. So the unicorn mix, if you're growing that, it is a rainbow, and it has a lot of bright, vibrant colors. What makes the unicorn mix so unique is that The flowers are these giant domes. I don't know if you can see this, but they have that ombre coloring. And so you have to be really patient when you're growing these. You don't want to cut them too young or you won't get to experience their full beauty. And so most of them have purple eyes, but we're teasing out the red, the kind of purpley raspberry, the coral. We've got kind of goldy oranges. We've got pale yellows. We've got kind of a creamy green, peaches, pinks, and blush. And then this kind of strange, I don't even know what color you call that. But you can see that all of them, none of them are a solid color. They all have that ombre coloring, and we're working on stabilizing the more fully double flowers. So in the unicorn mix, there's a lot of fully doubles, but there are also some semi-doubles and some singles. So we're working on splitting that into all these different colors. So someday you can get them just by color. That's my hope. And then we've got some that are in what we call the large peach family. So look at this one. I mean, wouldn't that be ideal for wedding work? So beautiful. Okay, and then this section here. So there are these amazing little seed growers and breeders down in Oregon called Peace Seedlings, and they have a blog, not a website. So if you want to look up their price list or their offering, there's not really any pictures. It's very obscure. It's kind of word of mouth. They have the craziest cool zinnias. And so we started growing a few of their zinnias maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And they're typically these really wild colors. So you can see we've got like kind of orange petals with this candy pink tip, which is very unusual. Like you never see that in zinnias. So most of the flowers were kind of this form with that big kind of ugly cone in the middle. And I wanted to see, could we start to select the more fully double flowers? So we're working on that. Let me find another of the mix. Here's another one of their two tones. So the petals are orange with this really weird kind of purpley magenta tips. So they're cool and they're very unusual. But the amazing thing happened when we took some of the peace seedlings with really weird colors. We locked them in a hoop house with some of the Dog Creek varieties that had the form that I liked, that tufted form. Put them together, introduced a bunch of flies as pollinators. They walked around, crossed them, mixed the pollen from all of them, and then we grew out the seedlings from those. And that's where these came from. So now we're finding that we're getting more unusual, softer colors, and we're getting these more fully double or tufted flowers. So you can see here, we've got this really weird, I don't even know what color you have, but you've got that little bit of pink edging here. We're working on these kind of beautiful giant orange tufted with kind of lavender. And so these ones still have a ways to go. Look at this, like two-tone tufted. Have you seen that before? I haven't. Red ones with purple undertones. So these are definitely on the brighter side and the weirder side, but I have high hopes. So a lot of them kind of started like this, right? And at first glance, I'm like, it just looks kind of like a dirty wildflower. Like it's not really something that's not a good cut flower. But what was really neat about these is like, wow, there are 2 colors on that petal. So could we get that coloring to move over to a form that is more appealing as a cut flower? So that's what we're working on. So these are all the different Peace ones that we're messing around with. They're Peace Dawn Creek crosses. And then over here, these are some of the different little guys that I found a long time ago in, I had kind of a bad batch of Oklahomas. I mean, they weren't bad, but they had a lot of variation in them. And if you ever grow Oklahomas, sometimes you'll get a batch where you have a lot of different colors. And so I found this really beautiful kind of smoky, brighter pink. I found this really awesome, I call it Cherry Bomb. It's like a smoky red. I also found this one, which I call, what is it? Pecan Praline, no, Butter Pecan. And so it's got peach with this little kind of buttercream top to it. So these were off types that I found in the mix. And I just saved seed from that and have been working on it ever since. So that's where those guys came from. And then we also got some Oklahoma Magic Mix from Wild Garden Seed, and it had some crazy colors in it. So we found one plant that had this really bizarre kind of smoky, strange magenta burgundy smoky. So we call this Smoke Show. And then we've got this one, which I'm calling Tomato Soup, or maybe it's fire roasted tomatoes, but it's got this kind of dusty reddish, kind of brownish red. And so I don't know if those are pretty or ugly yet. So we're just working on them and growing them out. So those are all kind of Oklahoma spin-offs. And then up here, we've got the two, okay, so these are all Victorian weddings. So if you're growing the Victorian wedding mix, you'll find pretty much all of these colors in there, and then the occasional ivory. You'll find a bright yellow here and there, sometimes an orange, but for the most part, Victorian wedding is the reason we named it Victorian wedding is it kind of the antique, muted colors, really beautiful, just kind of, they're antique. They feel kind of Victorian era. And so what I'm doing is trying to tease out the individual colors from Victorian wedding. So I've got this beautiful kind of dusty rose. I've got this really pretty kind of smoky orange. I've got a like really dusty peach, really pretty champagne, kind of a, almost like a lavender blush. Then we've got a champagne. We've got kind of a richer pink, but it's still soft. This bizarre, I don't even know what color you call that, but it has like kind of purple edging to it. So those are all individual Victorian weddings that I'm working on. And then I have been also trying to figure out how do you get the Queen series? You know, the Queen Lime and Queen Red Lime varieties are so great. Like the breeding work there is incredible, the colors. But I always wondered, could you get it on a smaller like body, right? Could you get like the Oklahoma size flower with that color? And I've been able to do it. So we've got this Queen Lime Junior, that's what I call it as a joke, but it's like a little tiny mini guy that's lime. And then here's Queen Red Lime on a small body. So same coloring. I mean, not quite as vivid, but very similar. And they have long stems, last super well. I'm working on a very fully double flower form, but with that smaller size. So those are those guys. And then over here, these are the Little Flower Girl from Little Flower Girl. So if you're growing Little Flower Girl, they are mainly singles and semi-doubles with a few doubles. And the reason is we figured out how to get the right color and the right size, but we could not figure out how do we get more fully double flowers. And that's really what we've been working on the last couple of years, is increasing the number of fully double blooms in our mixes. And so now we have really had a breakthrough, and we are getting about 80% of the flowers that are coming out of any of these lines are fully double. So these are all Little Flower Girl, and eventually there's going to be a very pale blush where you can just get the blush in fully double. This super soft pink, a mix of all fully double flowers if you wanted. This will eventually replace Little Flower Girl, or maybe it'll be in addition to, because the great thing about Little Flower Girl having so many singles is the pollinators love it. And it has that sweetheart look that's kind of a little bit more wildflowery. So working on a mix of fully doubles. And then we've got a buff color, a really soft kind of champagne-y blush, and then a very pale peach and a little bit of a darker peach. But again, small flower form, kind of that honeycomb bloom, really long stems, great for cutting, but a nice size that you could actually use like in wedding flowers or bouquets. And then these are ones that I was trying to see, could I get any smaller than the Little Flower Girl? Like, could I get the size of like Thumbelina or maybe Sunbow with a longer stem length? And I think I've got it. So this is, we're joking, we call this micro pig. So this is really, see how tiny that is, that little tiny blush flower. We've got peaches and this kind of champagne-y color, but they're just slightly smaller. Slightly, not a ton, but slightly smaller than Little Flower Girl. And then this one is kind of a little bit more of a peachy color. So those ones I'm working on to see, and they have great stem length. They last really well in the vase. So I think they have potential. So I'm working on those. And then here's the best thing of all. Okay, so I'm not a huge fan of the cactus flower form just because so often they haven't been rogued and selected so that the cactus form looks really nice. They usually just look kind of messy and, I don't know, kind of dingy. So we are working on some cactus varieties, trying to get that form more stabilized. The person who's doing a ton of great work around the cactus varieties is Tiffany at Blama. She's doing beautiful work with that. But I wanted to see, I had never seen a smaller flowered cactus. They're usually very large. And so we finally had a breakthrough in getting the tiny little flowers of Little Flower Girl or Victorian Wedding and getting more of that cactus type bloom. So now we have a soft pink that has the cactus form. We have a kind of an ivory, and Eric calls this Parmesan. And then we have a peach. So we actually have three colors Then they have long stems. They last almost better than any other variety. I don't know what it is. I think it has so many petals. So those guys are in the works. And then, yeah, I mean, that's the zinnias. Are there so many? Can you even believe it? It's pretty wild. I feel a little like I'm hyperventilating. And then we've got all of these different Celosia that we're working on. So many of these are the varieties that we've already offered that were part of the Floret Originals. So this is Rose Gold. And then a few years ago within Rose Gold I found one that I call Fool's Gold. And so it's a bit softer of a color. It has more of a green undertone. And the stems are copper and green versus burgundy and green. So little things like that. So there's a lot of pinks, a lot of champagnes, because I feel like those are the colors that we need for weddings. Working on some richer colors, but kind of in a single group. So you could just get kind of a pinky orange or a rich coral. We've got a green. So working on trying to tease out individual colors. And then I don't like burgundy personally. I find it really challenging to work with, the kind of burgundy and the darker purples. So here I'm trying to figure out, can I do one that is really pretty and is easy to incorporate with other flowers and it isn't too just like vibrant and dense? So I obviously have too many burgundies there, but I'm gonna narrow it down, and I have kind of too many soft pinks, so also gonna narrow it, but lots of Celosia in the works as well. But I just wanted to give you a peek at this because I've never really seen it myself. All these different varieties. I mean, look at this, all the different unicorns. And this all started because I found one flower in a big row of zinnias that was a different color than anything else. So the one that started this all was Golden Hour. And I found this one plant that had this really beautiful kind of soft melon, kind of pale yellow color. And I had never seen anything like that because typically zinnias are very bright and bold. And I didn't know how to save seed. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't sure how it worked. And so I just saved all of the seed off of that one plant. And then over the years, I learned about seed saving and taught myself with Eric. We taught ourselves how to do this breeding work. I don't have a background in this, and so we've done it very intuitively. But we've been sharing our process and documenting it, and it's really, I'm shocked that we have made it this far without, in one way, not really knowing what we were doing. We just thought it was possible. And so we started going for it, and you can see all of the things that have happened since. But if you have any interest in breeding your own zinnias or your own flowers, or you're curious about how this stuff works, the very best thing to do is to learn how to save your own seed. So we are doing a brand new mini course that we're running this late summer and into autumn. It's free to take, and it is all about how to save seed from zinnias, celosia, and dahlias. So the right stage to harvest them, how to dry them, how to clean them, the whole works. So if you find a variety that is in a mix of zinnias that you're growing that you want to save, I'm going to show you how to do it, and then you might become a flower breeder too. So that's really how it all started for me. But yeah, just wanted to give you a peek into this and then invite you to our seed saving mini course. It's going to be awesome.